Chizuru! Chizuru!
Someone is calling out my name. Surrounding me is a vibrant meadow covered in a gorgeous blanket of wildflowers. In the distance, I recognize our small home situated in the village hidden deep in the mountains. This is where we lived, our modest but idle life. And then one day, the Fire Nation attacked. Our village was set ablaze. The flames bled into the sky, filling it with an ominous crimson haze.
Chizuru! Where are you? Chizuru!
Someone precious had been calling out to me. Suddenly, the ground around my feet was littered with an array of atrophied corpses, each body marked with a mortifying expression. My lungs were filled with the char of smoke, making it difficult to catch my breath. Then I blacked out. As I regained consciousness, someone was carrying me.
We are almost out of the woods, my child. Hang in there just a tad longer.
The man panted heavily as he carried me through our swift escape down a forested trail.
I cannot believe the tragedy that has befallen us. They will never get away with this. All because we refused to participate in their coup, they have destroyed our home.
Even though I was but a child, I realized that my innocence, my home, all of those things would never return to me. The further we fled from the village that we called home, the more my heart filled with terror, and my eyes filled uncontrollably with tears.
I hate them.
A voice echoed from out of nowhere, as if it had entered my brain like a curse.
We just wanted to live in peace away from the troubles of humans. Those bastards just wanted to destroy and destroy. But why would they destroy our home?
The sound of the mysterious voice spewing its indignant cries came into a cacophonous harmony with my desperate sobbing.
I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
Ah! All of my dying clan's resentment and sorrow manifested into a haunting condemnation.
I hate them.
Their words became my words, and the same bitter sentiment left my mouth.
Hey, little sister. Chizuru.
This voice. My eyes widened, and it was Okita staring back at me with a concerned expression. Oh, was I just dreaming all of that? You all right? You were talking in your sleep. Were you having a nightmare? No, it wasn't that. I'm just still adjusting to sleeping at this hour. Don't worry about me. For some reason, I felt too embarrassed to look Okita in the eye, so I fidgeted and stared at the ground. Why would you even bother lying to me? You're terrible at it. What? I'm not lying! I shouted impulsively at him, rushing to clap my hands over my mouth as soon as the words came out. Oh. Okita was taken aback by my surprising outburst, and for a while he seemed offended, but he shifted into a more sympathetic approach. Sorry. I'm just looking out for you, is all. No, I should be the one apologizing. He was only showing me concern, so it was unfair of me to yell at him. I wondered what compelled me to do so. It was difficult to discern or trust my own feelings. Something nasty began to fester in the pit of my stomach. I needed to take better care of myself. I began to wonder if becoming a Fury would not only deteriorate my body, but my mind as well. Let's drop it. His urge was curt but gentle, and I thought it was a good opportunity to open up about how I felt. I took deep breaths, making it easier for me to gather my thoughts coherently before I spoke. I had a flashback, just a little one, about my childhood. Back then, we lived in a remote, peaceful village. But one day, for whatever reason, an army of humans marched into our village armed with weapons. As I searched for details of the memory, I bit my lip. I realized that I was uncovering a deeply buried trauma that had been waiting for me all my life. They lit the village on fire, and my parents, as well as other demons we knew, were all murdered. All we wanted was a life of peace and solitude. Recounting the story triggered all of my hateful feelings once more, brewing like a storm in my heart. Whatever selfish reasons they had, they killed men, women, children, everyone! Everyone! An entire village who only wanted peace! I was aware that most people aspired to obey their inherent goodness, hoping to triumph over evil. I knew this was not the truth for all men. There were men who took pleasure from their evil deeds. Chizuru. Okita gazed at me longingly, reaching his hand out to mine as a gesture of comfort. However, I couldn't reciprocate it. I don't know what to think anymore! I never, ever imagined myself as someone who would let their resentment consume herself. I suppose that my bitterness had nowhere to go, and the tiny flame within me grew and grew until it had become a wildfire intent on getting vengeance. Now I wanted nothing more than the families of those who destroyed my village to suffer in agony for generations, until they could no longer even conceive of hope. Holy crow, what happened to Chizuru? As such thoughts simmered fiercely in my mind, I suddenly gasped in shock. I don't know if you should focus too hard on that right now. You're thirsty, aren't you? We're out of water in our canteen, so I'm gonna fetch some from that river nearby. Wait here for me. Call my name if anything happens. Okay. Be careful. Okita jumped through the bushes to look for the river. Sweat dripped down my forehead, and I wiped off a thick layer with the back of my hand as I sighed. Just then, I heard grass rustling underneath heavy footsteps only a little distance from where I was sitting. Yeah, I'm like, it's not going to be Souji. We're, in a perfect spot for sister, brother, or dad to find us, I think. Okita? Did you forget something? When the voice didn't respond, a wet chill crept down the length of my spine. It wasn't Okita. I held my breath anxiously, waiting for an answer. Well, hello. Hey, don't you come in, words stinging like that, Kaoru. It's been a hot minute. And last time we saw you, you were shoving stuff down my throat. Okay, you were shoving the water of life down my throat before that gets misinterpreted. So don't you come at me calling me names.
You're a real bitch, you know that? How could you mistake your brother for Okita of all people?
Kaoru! What are you doing here?
Well, I am currently working in close cooperation with the Imperial Army. So it's easy for me to be on top of your whereabouts. I know you fought the Imperial Army at Utsunomiya Castle, and that now you're heading north. I can think of only one reason why you'd split from the Shinsengumi to head north.
Kaoru smirked with his suggestive tone, and he started approaching me slowly. With each step he took, I nervously took a step back.
So, it's all coming back to you now, isn't it? The memories of when we were children, I mean. Our life was so perfect. No need for the vitriol or the arguments that seem to plague the lives of men. But that life was stripped away from us for no reason. We, who were stronger, sturdier, better than them, were made to suffer. Kinda unfair, don't you think? Those with the power to do great things are seldom given the opportunity at the hands of their rivals. Only the ones who work to step on the good graces of others, manipulating anyone who crosses their path, can have the last laugh.
I think if Kaoru had confronted me with this monologue just days ago, I would have dismissed it outright. But now... Our village was destroyed by humans, wasn't it? I was reminded of the nightmare I just had, and then going back further, I recalled what Sen had told me before as well.
Western domains threatened us to work as spies in order to overthrow the shogunate. Our father told them he refused to become involved in the conflict of humans, and he chose to ignore their threats. Then they arrived, and they burned everything they could lay their clutches on.
What Kaoru spoke of was a memory I had sealed away to live my life, up until recently, as a human. But all of it was coming back to me. All of his anger and acrimony was justified.
Ah, so now you finally understand why I am the way I am, despite living your life of privilege.
Kaoru's eyes shifted to look far into the distance.
At long last, we can come together. We can be the siblings we were born to be. I have been enduring this burden alone for so long, and you had only suffered a taste of it. We are twins, which means our bond is unlike any other, don't you agree?
Kaoru turned to face me again, and his eyes had a melancholic sincerity behind them. What do you hope to do?
Isn't it obvious? My aim is to restore the Yukimura clan, our village, and we will reclaim the life that the humans stole from us. I will never forgive those who erased my family, and the people from my village, from this world. Nor will I forgive the demon clans who ignored us in our time of need, leaving us to wither away to nothing without a second glance. And more importantly, I will never forgive the filthy humans who are tainting our beautiful country.
Kaoru began to burn with a potent rage. However, becoming privy to the reasoning behind all of this inner turmoil made me realize I was no longer afraid of him. Interesting. If anything, I could only feel for him.
Kyoto has created an improved water of life, one that can allow any fury to withstand the sunlight.
Well, that's nice. Koto Yukimura had developed a second line of deadly furies whose battle proficiency was unhindered by sunlight, so he made the Urukai. Gotcha. I froze. Kaoru, is father with you?
Yes. He is a distant relative of mine, after all.
The adoptive father of the protagonist, who, although a member of the Yukimura clan, isn't related to her by blood, just in case you didn't get that from the last game.
He has committed to the future of our clan, and we will use his improved serum to take back what's ours. His new serum is so powerful that even half-demons can drink it to regain the powers diluted by the sinful matrimony with humans.
Oh, interesting.
With this new water of life, we can create an army. One that doesn't rely on any one demon. One that will conquer all other demon clans. With our new army, we will achieve what all other demons failed to do, and we will conquer Japan!
Kaoru reached his hand out to mine.
Chizuru, join me.
What? Kaoru sprung his proposition on me. This was no joke from Kaoru, he was dead serious.
You understand, don't you? If it will make you feel better, Okita can come with you as well. We are going to massacre the evil forces conspiring within this country for the good of our people.
Just as Sen had predicted, Father was continuing his research on the water of life even after leaving the Shinsengumi. The protagonist's missing father, who was secretly performing experiments upon the Furies in collaboration with the Satsuma Choshu. Perhaps Father held the key to curing the affliction inside Okita and restoring his humanity. And together, perhaps we could create a new home for ourselves, one where we could live in peace. If this was one chance to give myself the promise of a better future, was it worth it to accept? Before I could answer Kaoru, thank goodness a guy with reason pops up. I'm going nowhere. Never will. A familiar voice responded in the distance, and at once I was snapped back to reality. Chizuru, you really need a lesson on how to say no. Haven't you ever heard of the phrase, too good to be true? That son of a bitch can't be trusted. Okita emerged from the tree, standing in front of me to confront Kaoru directly. Kaoru, however, seemed to have anticipated Okita's arrival, and he grinned suggestively.
I don't expect her to answer right away. It's a lot to consider. I figured I'd let my sister sit on it. We will wait for you at our village. Make your decision before you meet us. Wait!
Okita immediately unsheathed his sword and attempted to swipe quickly at Kaoru. Kaoru read Okita's movements easily, narrowly avoiding the attack as it grazed the fabric of his sleeve.
Until next time, Chizuru. I look forward to your answer.
Then, Kaoru vanished from sight, melting into the air. God damn. That guy is good at weaseling away. Thanks, Boo. Okita sounded irritated as he sheathed his sword back into its scabbard. Chizuru, wake up. Why are you just standing there with that stupid look on your face? Don't tell me you've fallen for his cajolery. Well... You know, I'm only going to tell you this once. Okita slowly stepped towards me. Just then. Oh, come on. Really? Ah! Okita's face scrunched in pain and he wrapped his arms around his body as he yelped desperately. Okita? In the blink of an eye, Okita's hair became stark white and his irises once again became crimson. The madness of the fury struck him once more, and this time it was aiming for his heart. That's not good. However, a nervous feeling shot through me. Another dizzy spell pulsed in my head. Oh, come on, the both of you at the same time? Huh? It became difficult to see clearly. My heartbeat had one ferocious pound, and then... Ah! Suddenly, I craved blood. I craved Okita's blood. Uh-oh. My cravings began to dominate my mind, as if my entire body screamed to tear Okita limb from limb. It was an animalistic desire that became impossible to resist. Whoops, I just punched my microphone with each passing moment. The thirst came from within. It was innate, and it needed to be quenched immediately. No! Ah! Ah! My forehead burned unbearably all of a sudden. I instinctively reached to touch it when... Horns, please be horns, please be horns. My fingers felt something... firm? Oh no, what was this? My hair, which was tied into a bun atop of my head, became undone and fell to my shoulders. From the corner of my eye, I saw my hair flicker. It turned white. No! I shook violently from fear. As I reached to touch my forehead once more, I felt two horns begin to poke through the flesh, slowly inching themselves above the surface. Finally! Okay, I was wondering if it made her grow the horns, finally. Can I please see this? Stop describing it, let me just see it. No! Am I really a demon? Was this because of the water of life? White hair and horns stabbing through my forehead? Nah, I was in you all along, girl. My soul, my body, both were becoming corrupted by the serum's poisonous effects. Gah! The pain was abruptly punctuated by a desperate thirst. A tickling sensation began to irritate every inch of my skin, making me want to scratch uncontrollably. No! Then, a hand gently grabbed a hold of my shoulders. I was too embarrassed to let Okita see me like this, and I couldn't bear to turn and face him. Don't look at me. Okita was silent. Please, don't look at me! After I let out my sheepish whimper, he responded with a calm demeanor. Oh. Chizuru, do you want my blood? No! I can't! All I could do was shake my head, fighting helplessly to suppress my cravings. He grabbed both of my arms and forced me to face back at him. There he was. What a pair we are. Oh. In front of me stood a demon who resembled what I was slowly transforming into. However, he had no horns on his head. But just like me, his hair turned white, and he looked ravenous for the taste of blood. I wasn't alone. The knowledge of this overwhelmed me. Sorry for that voice crack. Hold on, I gotta drink some water. Ahem. Overcome with emotion. I wasn't alone. My tainted blood. It may contaminate you and bring you closer to becoming a full-blown fury. Okita breathed in a strained, panting staccato? I don't think I've ever seen that word before. That is my only fear. But if it'd make you feel better, take it. Okita, Now, if we're going off of... I know we're trusting... Well, you know what I'm gonna say. I'm like, we're trusting Kaoru, but by all accounts, it sounds like just drinking blood does not help. It has to be a pure demon's blood, so I have to go get my brother and drink his blood. I think if she gets a taste of Okita's blood, she's just going to, like, go nuts until she takes all of it, so I think we should endure it. I bit my lip aggressively and I unsheathed my Kodachi. And then... You take mine. Chizuru? What are you doing? Well, I mean, sure, but it just sounds weird to be like, cut hand, please sip this. Alright. Please take a sip. I cut along the length of my palm and I offered my bloody hand to Okita. Take my bloody hand. You want blood, right? Please, drink mine. But what about you? Don't you need to drink blood too? Well, it's not as if I don't. My throat suddenly became dry and scratchy from thirst, which only worsened my cravings. But I don't need it! What I truly wanted was a reprieve from the suffocating appetite. It was driving me mad. I tried to think of a joyful moment, a time when we could live life peacefully away from these impulses. Hopefully, Okita and I could carve a future where the serum's poisonous effects no longer held us hostage. I'm a demon, and even though I was forced into drinking the water of life, numbness started trickling throughout my body, perhaps trying to coax me into quenching my thirst. But even still, I don't need blood. I just wanted to live by Okita's side. I see. Gotcha. That's a good girl. Okita whispered softly, and he grabbed a hold of my hand heartily. Well, here we go again. I like how he's like, I admire you, but I don't have the same self-control, so... Okita licked vigorously around each corner touched by blood on the surface of my hand. I am drinking your blood to keep myself sane, so I won't go mad. Okita tickled my ear with his torpid tone, utterly enthralled by the soothing taste of my blood. How is he tickling your ear when his... Never mind. My body, on the other hand, was still aching longingly with bloodlust. But even so, watching him take such a lucid pleasure from lapping up my blood, I nodded firmly. And I won't drink your blood so that I can keep my wits about me. This was my burden to bear. You're stronger than me, kid. A slight pinch shot up my arm as Okita sucked in one more generous mouthful, then let out a deep sigh. But I'm sure I'll get there soon. Okita's reassuring words made me realize how much he worked to keep me from giving into the madness. But give in to the madness. He and I leaned heavily onto one another, and I did my best to endure the serum's poisonous effects. And through it all, Okita held my hand tightly. He kept me safe until the very end. Well, we made it through the night. Yay! And now it's July. Welp. I hope that was a good choice. We got no butterflies on moons. But I'll hope for the best. I hadn't considered how much colder the north was. Despite the incoming summer season, the blustery winds were freezing all throughout the night. Sun's almost up, so why don't we take a rest over here for the day? Okay. Huh. That didn't take as much time as I thought it would. Guess being a fury comes in handy sometimes. We were only a ways away from the village where I was born, the village of the Yukimura clan. Tomorrow's the day we'll finally come face to face with both your dad and Kaoru. Any idea of what you're gonna say to him? Well, judging by your silence, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a no. At least there isn't much to think about. Okita. What? Never mind. I wanted to ask him what he had planned to do once he encountered them as well. But first, I had to settle on an answer for Kaoru. Or else, I knew that my feelings won't reach Kaoru. Chizuru, can you follow me? Huh? Follow you where? You'll see. Come here. Hey! Drags her along. Where are we going now? Thought we were resting. Okita quickly grabbed a hold of my hand before walking away through a forested path. Where could he have been taking me? He gave me no chance to object, and he continued his brisk pace down the grassy knoll. Look at the stars. Oh, wow! Okita brought us underneath a canopy that had a dazzling view of the stars scattered across the dusky sky. My cheeks were tingled by the caress of the soft breeze. The sky's all clear, so I figured a nice view would be just the thing you needed. I mean, sunny days are nice and all, but how about that view, huh? It was all that Okita said and more. I marveled in awe at the countless stars flickering brilliantly. The wind gently rustled the leaves overhead, allowing each brief glimmering sconce to peek through the tiny holes in the trees. Something so simple became a moment that I could cherish for the rest of my life. Thank you for this, Okita. This is what I needed. You're welcome. You're such a prude. Okita cackled to himself and he looked me directly in the eye. Why are you cackling? So, talk to me. What do you want to do? I still hadn't settled on a decision, but I took a deep breath to gather my thoughts. I don't blame Kaoru for holding on to these feelings of resentment for as long as he has. He lost everything. His home, his family, and his entire clan for nothing. All because of the selfishness of others. He wants to carve a better future for himself. I'm sure if I were Kaoru, I wouldn't be too far off. Kaoru had attempted to manipulate me at so many opportunities, but now I knew the pain that had resided deeply within him was true. That doesn't mean that I've forgotten how many times he's crossed me, of course. After all, Kaoru is the reason that both Okita and I were suffering the effects of the water of life. But at the end of the day, Kaoru is still my brother. I was unsure if a time would come where I could forgive him for all that he had done to us. But my mind jumped to the horrific thought of having to endure the rest of my life without Okita. I realized that I, too, could become as bitter as Kaoru, cursing and hating everything that had the misfortune of entering my line of sight. Keeping this in mind, I couldn't quite bring myself to condemn Kaoru entirely. So, you want to join them, is that it? I hesitated to answer his question. It wasn't as though I never considered it an option. We Furies were unable to live an ordinary life alongside humans. If we were destined to live behind the shadows of mankind, perhaps residing with Kaoru was best. Still, I held on to my reservations. Kaoru is seeking to reclaim some glorious life he has idealized at the expense of many others. That is something I cannot agree with. So if I could maybe convince him to give up on this dream to create this demon-run kingdom... Sounds a little delusional of you. You're talking about someone who's willing to exterminate an entire race of people in the interest of his own clan. You really think they'd even bother listening to your idiotic wish? Are you that naive? Well... Look, kid. In this world, there are a lot of people who've been dealt a shitty hand, and have had to deal with it without any help from others. I don't think going in there thinking you're gonna hold hands and make up will work on someone like him. Okita was right. I had no rebuttal. These emotions had festered for so long in Kaoru. His entire life was spent working towards exacting his revenge upon the humans to rebuild his clan. Entertaining the idea of putting a halt to his vengeful plans would have been out of the question. Like Okita said, I am naive. You're also optimistic. During a pause in our conversation, Okita turned back to face the stars. I wish I could have given you what you wanted. Huh? The hope you have. I wanted to go along with it and think everything'd be okay. Because to be honest, without you, I doubt I'd even be alive right now. Okita's eyes thinned, and there was no hint of sarcasm in his voice. He was trying to comfort me. To Okita, it was Kondo for whom he had worked his entire life. And now that Kondo had been taken from him, I was sure Okita had no real objection to dying at any moment now. The fact he was alive right now must mean... I want to make your wishes come true. All of them. So that you'll never think of joining Kaoru. To live in this world without humans. That isn't what you want, right? Okita had a knack for articulating my inner thoughts far better than I ever could. You both are good for each other in that way. Now that you've gotten a taste of what it's like to be a monster, is your plan to give up your entire life and just hide away from the world? I was speechless. Okita paid no mind as he continued without waiting for me to answer. That's not you. I don't see it. And even if it were, there's no way in hell I'd let it happen. You see, there are people in this world that are too important to let slip into darkness. Okita. I didn't want to live the rest of my life as a Fury. I didn't want to kill any humans. All I had wanted was a life of peace. Okita helped me remember that this was my dream all along. He saw right through me, sensing that I was beginning to slip away because I had drunk the water of life. Soon as we can find a way to cure the water of life, we'll be free from all this madness. You are you. You are no monster. Was that so much to ask for? To be free of this curse? When Sanan was still with the Shinsengumi, he had spent years searching for a cure. In the end, he was unsuccessful. Okita knew this. But against all of the odds, he put his faith in whatever sliver of hope he had. After all this, if you still plan on just walking away from me and everything you have... Okita reached his hand to me kindly. The soft touch of his finger gave me goosebumps, and he stared back at me affectionately. This is Souji's As You Wish. Then I will kill you. If you're gonna give up moving forwards, then I'll make sure you have nowhere else to go. By this point, I wasn't sure just how many times Okita had threatened to kill me. But this must have been the first ever time that he said it in such a kind-hearted manner. Knowing that his words came from a well-intentioned place made my heart flutter warmly. What a game. Like, even I... Like, it's written so well that I was like, "Aw, he wants to kill us." I'm so... That my heart. The cockles of my heart are so warm right now. Okita. So, if you don't want this sword through your gut, don't even think of giving up. I'm not strong enough to keep going without you either, you know. I won't give up till it's all said and done. For me, why don't we see what's waiting for us? The cadence of his voice was almost nervous. Perhaps Okita had been unsure of what I was feeling, and so he gazed deeply into my eyes. Looking at his expression, I wanted to make his wishes come true as well. I won't give up. My forehead burned hotly as if I were coming down with a fever. Tears began to stream from my face, but they hadn't come from anything close to resembling sadness. It was all because Okita felt that I was still worth saving, and that he wouldn't let me fall into darkness. Even if persevering meant that our road ahead would be a difficult one, it was the road we'd needed. I want to keep going. With you, Okita. There was no hope in containing myself anymore, and I grabbed a hold of him madly. Thanks. I had a feeling you'd come around. Okita embraced me warmly in return. The sweet sensation of his breath tickled my forehead before he whispered into my ear. No matter what, I'm not letting you get away. You and I are staying together until the end. His hand sweetly grazed the side of my cheek.
No.
As if he were nudging me, I timidly shut my eyes in anticipation. Kiss, kiss, please, 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 please. Yes! Yes! It finally happened! Yes! Yes! I'm so happy! Yes! This took forever! Oh, it was so worth it. Yay! Ah, great. He let out a quiet sigh, and he put his tender lips against mine in one calm, confident movement. I could feel his fingers tremble nervously, as if he were touching something so fragile it would crumble at the slightest touch. Okita always had a witty, sarcastic response, opting to let his mouth do the talking, but now... There were no words from him, and together we basked in this intimate moment. He had been treating me so dearly. For once in my life, I felt whole, the thought of which nearly brought me to tears. Our lips shook slightly, nestled in our passionate kiss. I was sure that the same thoughts running through me were running through Okita as well. Just thinking about how complete he made me feel. It convinced me there was no greater love than ours. My future was his future, ours together. I pined ever so to continue being by his side, and would do whatever it takes to keep him. I would follow him until the end of time. As these thoughts burned so fiercely inside of me, so too did our kiss intensify, and each breath between our zealous smacking grew more strained and sensuous. Zealous smacking. Love it.